I know. Okay, so actually that wasn't the title of the seminar today, but I took the advice of Dr. Ali. So I make it more techniques, but in the end, it's going to be the same seminar. I'm not going to change anything about it. But there's, I think I gave some information about myself. Don't care about that. Now, I'm just trying to have some change here, if that's okay. I collect some videos. It's like 1 minute. Okay, some shots of videos together to make us understand more what I'm talking about. Okay, so if you're not here, now I'm talking about the biometric, the fingerprints, okay? And there's a reason I'm talking about that, to use it in security and attendance in school, especially exams. If you notice that the biometric or the fingerprint, it exists since we were born, okay? So it's really, really old, okay? It's not a new technology, it's really old technology, and it uses the fingerprint tips. Okay, now, even like that, I think you know that, but it's very important to explain to you before we start, okay, that even the twins, okay, like really exact same twins, they do have the same, different biometric or fingerprint features, okay? Now, what we're gonna be surprised about, that Chinese, long time ago, okay, they used actually the fingerprint for the Asians as a signature. So basically, when you talk from country to country or from kingdom to another kingdom, they use this fingerprint, and they have no idea. They have no idea that everyone in life or in this world, they have different fingerprints, like unique fingerprint. But they used it. Okay, they used it in that. Also, we can use or actually they used it, the fingerprint in the law enforcement. Okay, so basically they use it to detect who's a criminal, and we did it. All we need is just to touch anything, even the table. So we have the fingerprint on it. Now, why we have the fingerprint in our hand? Okay, this is the idea of this question. Okay, basically everybody knows, but we never thought about it before. The only thing is very simple, is to touch and hold the stuff. So for example, if I don't have this bumpy edge, I cannot take this one. That's a fingerprint about, okay? And now, we'll find that also, that's what I'm talking about in China, okay? They used it long time ago in signature. Okay, in 1788, someone from Germany is called Johann Meyer. Actually, he's the one that he declared or like announced that everyone in life got his own fingerprint, and it's different than the others. The question is, I'd love to ask me this question at the end of the seminar, did we really have different fingerprints from each other in the world? That's the question, okay? Now, we'll talk about it later. Okay, so how I got this idea? And from where it came to my mind. Okay, first of all, there's two reasons. Number one, as I said, I'm trying to study, or my interest is about research, medical research, okay? So I'm trying anything, just push it toward the medical research. So I start with biometric, okay? I know it's not that deep in medical research, but this is my start, this is kickstart. Okay, now, I got an interview, or the chance for interview with a center here inside in Carleton University. It's called McIntyre Center, or McIntyre Exam Center. And these people, they're responsible to prepare the exams service for all the students, okay? Now, they asked me in the interview, or before the interview, before you come to the interview, we have problem, I want you to find solution for it, okay? So it was interesting for me. Like, what's the problem? And how I can solve this problem. First of all, they told me they want to make, or in the time of the technology now, okay, nowadays, that they want to use or collect the information of the students when they had the exam at the same time. So usually the regular way is to have paper-based, okay, and they go to each student and take their information. When I'm about the information, I'm talking about the ID, student number, the name, and the time that he did the exam, or like doing the exam. So we want to take this information at the same time without taking too long or cost more or that stuff. Anyway, so they asked me if you have 1,200 students, that was the problem statement, and if you can make the attendance or collect the information using the technology at the same time if they're doing their exam on the field, okay? Now, to do that, actually I have to break down or analyze the problem, because to do any programs or any project, it has to go through levels. And this is the way I know that first of all I have to analyze it, after that design the situation or design whatever the analyst gave me, like verbals, whatever, then after that I can implement, then test it. Okay, now I did some research about McIntyre Center inside the university, and as I told you exactly what they are doing and what their service they give it to the instructor or proctor and the student. Okay. Also, at the same time, I know something that was, I'm not gonna say it's weird, but was like I didn't expect it. That are working at the same time with Biometric Center. Okay, and these people they have the same situation, but especially or specific with student with disability. Okay, like special need. So here I have a lot of assumptions, like stuff in my mind. Okay, why they didn't tell me that? Is it trick? Okay, so for me to find the right solution for that, I have to go through all this information. Okay, so how I gonna? Okay, now to understand that more or more specific, I got something it's called case scenario. So I make a case scenario for this, and I explain like what will happen if. Okay, imagine this is the exam center. Okay, so the exam center, they have students and they have instructors. This is the service they give to. Okay, the students and the instructor or the proctor. Now, imagine if we have 1,200 students or a bunch of students that are doing the exam at the same time, and we have the instructor and they are just assigned 3 proctors. And 3 proctors, they're gonna do they're gonna take the information and watch the student for not cheating and that stuff at the same time. Imagine if 2 of them, they couldn't make it to the exam. 2 of them, they couldn't make it. Maybe somebody gets hit by a bus or something. It's bad, right? Okay, somebody like late because traffic or whatever, and only 1 make it. Now we have 3 solutions, okay? Now I come up with 3 solutions. Number 1 is to cancel the exam, okay? And I think that's gonna cause the university or the school or the institute, okay? Number 1, this is not an issue because if it doesn't cause the university or schedule or whatever, let's talk about the student himself because he was prepared for the exam, and then okay, we cancel the exam. This is really shock for him, okay? So I have this option to choose, but I think it doesn't make sense. And the other option is to let him do it, the exam. And here we're gonna go with the student, they're gonna fool the system, and he might cheat because we have only 1 proctor with all these 1,200 students. So I think also this solution, it doesn't make sense. After that, I go to using the technology, and I'm talking about the biometric solution, and now we're gonna talk about that in the next slide. Yes, okay, so we are in the School of Information Technology. So break down this solution to find solution for this problem, okay? Most likely, I make it 2 parts. Number 1, information and technology. So I'm using 2 things. Because we are talking about information, and this is the most important, we're talking about the security of the information, correct? Security. So like I'm talking about student ID, student name, and student whenever to take the exam and the time of the exam. Okay, so the information, it serves the systems, any system, I need to use it inside the information, but it's also very important in academic life. Okay, so I need to use the information in academic life, and it has to be protected and more accessible, like to use it, and I can access whenever I want the information. Now, because academic, they give the service for the students, okay, in their exam. Why? Because I want to make identification for them and have 3 major things. Is the accessibility for the information, I need to have safe information. So for example, if the students, we take all this information and we have all this attended for them, okay, then I lost the paper. This is a big problem, okay, this is a big issue for me, okay, for the university, for the student themselves. Okay, so at the same time, I want maintenance, easy to maintenance, so I can correct anything if there's any problem. Now, so if I'm using the manual way, the normal way that most of the institute and the university use it, here we're gonna have something called a human error, because the proctor or the student are not an angel, okay, so basically it might be a problem with the human error. Not only I'm talking about the proctor, about the system itself. As I said, they might lose the paper, okay, for the attendant. Now, or for one other reason, 2 proctors didn't show up. So now, as it's unsafe for the data itself. But if I'm using any other biometric or technology like fingerprint based, first of all, it's going to have interface, so it's easy to use, and at the same time, it can be safe and no errors. Okay, now the second part. We'll talk about technology, okay, and why I'm using the technology and how it works. Okay, for technology, I have ties, because most of the universities and the institute nowadays, upon under some research I found online, they want to serve their students, okay, for access rights for the service more reliability and protection to get this information for their services, okay? Now, to find out the types for the biometric, I figured out some information online and some research that we have the fingerprint, we have face detection and recognition, and we have the swipe card, Bluetooth, and the infrared, and also the barcode. I'll talk later about the voice pattern because it's not that good or like not that reliable technology until now for reasons. I'll talk about it later. Now, for the fingerprint, as I said before, it's take the characteristic for any person, like take all the tips of it, so all the information, so it's unique. So in the end, I'm taking only this person information. But again, here I'm not talking about they're already used in the airport or the school or everywhere. But I'm talking especially on the attendance of the exam. Okay, that's my major here. Okay, and also we have swipe, Bluetooth, infrared, and also have barcode. All of them being used before in universities inside Canada, like Toronto. All right. Now reasons. Okay, why I'm using the fingerprint? Why I choose the fingerprint? Now, most of the technologies I said before, they cost more. Okay, I have to have more money. I have to have it in each room, and that's going to be tough for me. But now when I'm talking about fingerprint, I don't have to have it in each room, or I can have it, but only in the front door, as I found some research that's already sold or have the information online. So fingerprint, it's very easy to set up and use. So that is like 1 + 1 = 2, so you don't need any a complicated program to do it. In the same time, provide, and this is very important, okay? Because rather than face detection, for example, face detection isn't that simple thing, because most people, they confuse between face detection and face recognition, and that's totally different things. Totally. Talking about face detection means the computer or the software you have in front of you, it just detects your face. That's it. But to talk about recognition, no, there's a database here. Like I have to compare between you and so it takes a long time and a lot of troubles. One of the troubles, if I want to use the student picture in the registration and have it in the database, in my database, and now I took just with any regular camera or any other camera resolution, when take the detection for the picture and compare it with the picture I had, it might give me 50% wrong, okay? And the same person, because I had to use the same resolution and the same camera, okay? And this is a problem. I think you have some research about it or some knowledge about it, but this is a problem out of it. Now, verify. Here, this is the most important for the fingerprint, because fingerprint, they use it in the United States, I think at the airports, okay? I saw it. You have to be present. Okay, nobody can take your fingerprint without your presence. So this is really confirmation for you that you are here. Exactly. A little bit correct. I'll talk about that later. For the question I mentioned first time about the security thing. Okay, at the same time, so I said it's verification, but like FaceTime or voice, you don't have to be there. Like I can be online and doing the face, but who told you that's me? Okay, the idea. At the same time, barcode. Barcode, it means that I'm using my ID. Right? So maybe someone else can came, okay, and use it. Diego, you can come and use it like in my name. You stole my identification. So this is a problem as well. Cost, fingerprint, it's really, really, really the cheapest one out of them. Okay, and I may compare between all of them. Actually, most of them. It's going to be in the end of this slide. Nowadays, I have a laptop. You have a laptop. Everybody got a laptop. I have a cell phone. So now we're shifting to technology. Okay, my belief out of this class that we are in the worst transition of life because we are in between now. We are not fully technology and we are still using the manual thing in everything, not only in fingerprint. Seriously. So this is the idea. We're gonna face a lot of trouble in this our duration. Okay. Now, the most important for that I'm talking here about the shift to digital for all the students that are using now the computers inside their exams. Now, the current method, upon all the research I did online, they are using the base paper, okay? Now, I'm talking about base paper, I'm not talking about only the attendance, even inside the universities, okay? One university I'm talking about it, is Toronto University. Toronto University, especially the law school, they start in 2015 to use all their exams on the computer. So the student, he can do the exam on the computer, okay, without having a paper or a pen. And actually the student, they like it. They really like the idea of it. Okay. The method of fingerprint. Protector cannot access collected data easily. The other systems are expensive comparing to FR, as I said before. The other systems are not available all the rooms, and the system can be fooled by the student. And this is the most important thing, okay? The system can be fooled by the students. But if I'm using the paper-based, here the paper-based are not uploaded to the centralized system, and this problem. But if using fingerprint system, it can be different because it can be centralized and I can access the data anytime I want. Okay, the system can be fooled by the system as well. Now, okay, now see the method to overcome solve this problem. Okay, I found more than 3 papers. Okay, and I really apply it as how to do the fingerprint thing. It's really easy. All I need is a program to make the software, the interface, and I have the LCD and a fingerprint sensor, and anyway the database stored somewhere. It's supposed to be massive database because we're talking about something bigger. Now, when the students try to put their fingerprint and go to make the verification and compare this fingerprint, if it's right, it's going to go back to them and open the door for them. If not, it's going to reset or restart again. Now I have some diagram that explain how it works and find capturing the finger of the students, okay? And after that we'll see the feature, if it's right or not for the feature tips of the fingerprint. And after the same time, I have the database and I can retrieve all the stored, and I need to talk about that also, about the registration and all the students, if they allow them to have the fingerprint, okay, inside the registration. This is a big problem as well, as one of the disadvantage, or not disadvantage, it's the hardest way to do the fingerprint. Then after that, they compare between them if yes, it's going to go to accept it. Now, if you see here, I make 2 compare between the real data or algorithm for data flow diagram for the fingerprint. It starts, capture the fingerprint. After that, see the feature sets, then verification mode. If yes, it's going to continue. If no, it has to come back again. And I may compare at the same time if we are using only the password diagram, okay? Like any password in a regular program, if you want to Java or in other languages, it can be the same idea, but not with the system or the biometric fingerprint. Now, for this system I'm using, it has to be software and hardware. I figured out, and I was surprised, that was in the beginning of the semester, that fingerprint sensor, we're supposed to know about it, but fingerprint sensors cost $20 over 80. So it was really wow. Okay, I remember when bachelor degree 10 years ago, I remember. But when we did that one, but it took a long time. It was big. I used braid one and also microcontroller just to do the fingerprint. But now it exists, and thank you China, thanks so much. Okay, it exists now with $20. I can buy it, and actually I ordered, but it takes too long. Because I did the program, I want to show you exactly how it works. But until now, I didn't receive it. I have to pay extra maybe for the shipping. I don't know. Anyway, now the hardware, it has to be the LCD and also the fingerprint sensor. The software, all you need is a database. I prepared the MySQL because I know it, and PHP or Java. Also prepared Java because the program I did was in Java. And also we need to use a strong operating system. One of them I call it Linux for a reason, because this one it's made by community. It's not made by Apple or Microsoft. Okay, so it's open source. You can do whatever you want with it. Now, other solutions. For reason, when I mentioned other solutions, I have reason over that. As, for example, face recognition, as I said before, they use it actually in China for exams, for high school exams. And I was so surprised, how much the students, I almost cried for the students. When I watched the YouTube video for them, it's really tough. They make it really hard for them. It's matter of life. All Chinese stopped that day just for this exam. So they used it actually inside the class, and really high technology. We have the barcode, and actually it's used 2015 in Toronto. Okay, they use the barcode. Okay, and especially in low college or law school. And also we have the Bluetooth infrared, but again, this way I don't believe it's really good for attendance, because who knows that the phone with the student, maybe someone else has the phone. Okay? Or the phone has problem with it, we don't know. Voice recognition also, it has still problems because we don't have the same pattern all the time, because we're sick or it depends. Now, for the comparison or the compare between the biometric and made by Newman in 2010, if you notice that all these student institutes and universities, when they are using all this identifier biometric, you're going to find the fingerprint, all the scores are high. Okay, like there's no low, or the medium and high. And this means that the fingerprint compared to all this biometric is one of the best. Now, assumptions. Why I have the assumptions, okay, or why I had this requirement. I had to create a requirement because they give me the problem. They didn't tell me. I have to ask myself: are the students with disability or not? Okay, because this is very important. I'm talking about this system inside the university. And the exam paper based, is it on computer or on paper? The exam itself, because it's going to be totally different. Because if the paper I can use only in the main door, I can use as LCD and fingerprint sensor, and that's it. As soon as it's in, like recognize it come and make the exam. But if it has a computer, I can use the computer. With each computer, I can use a fingerprint system that it can like recognize him, where is he and which seat he is. Okay, so they didn't tell me exactly about it. So use computers for examination. Nobody told me about it, so I have to make the assumption about it. Okay, a new student registration process system. And here we go. Now, Carleton University, okay, are they willing, or any other institute, are they willing to put the student, or storage the student fingerprints? This is the question, okay? Is it, okay, if the Carleton University accept that, will the student accept that? Okay, this is another question. Okay, now feasibility studies, they don't tell me the maximum range for the money, like how much the money wise, how much I had to pay, or how much we had to do the budget. They didn't tell me the budget, and all the student disability special needs requirements. So I came up with an idea, and this idea was actually I like it. It was the I call it the tray system, or the tray system, and it's face detection, and at the same time it's fingerprint and voice recognition. And when I'm talking about this for reason, the reason is, number one, I have to use computer-based, because I believe within 10 years from now, or 5 years, no paper-based anymore. It's going to be computer exam everywhere, all the institutes, that's my belief. And at the same time, student with disability, you don't know if he has like finger, he can't see, or he doesn't have hand. So if I use this three system, we're going to make it more strong for security and protection of data, and at the same time, the student will have freedom, whatever his situation for the exam. Now, proposal, this is not the seminar, it's just an idea, because Dr. Ali here, why we don't use it inside Carleton University with all these abilities we have as students, and we can change the whole university only with fingerprint, like without cards, without the code, without writing this one. Okay, we can just come inside and fingerprint and use it, and it's very cheap. It's not that expensive. So that's my proposal to Carleton University. And now I have then. Okay, I did my 1 year, sadly, PhD in India, but I couldn't continue, and that was an ADIC network. So what I'm thinking now is, can I use the fingerprint using ADIC, or I can apply to an ADIC network? Basically, ADIC network, it's a wireless network, but uncentralized. So basically, they use it on the taxi drivers, or they can use it also with the police department. So I don't need to have towers to move the signal from place to place. All I need is node. So basically, if I'm a police officer, my car is the node. If anybody close to my circle, it can send the data from place to place, from node to node. So that can be cheaper to using the ADIC network. The idea is, I didn't find online a lot about using the fingerprint on the cab, for example. So if I stop someone as a cab driver, as a police officer, I can take his fingerprint using the node without the using ADIC networks. Okay, and that was my idea about it. But I believe because the security, because already ADIC network, they have problem with security, because there's no tower, no shelter, and at the same time no server. And thank you. That's all.